Welcome to this webinar on Git integration with Idera ER Studio Enterprise. My name is Anil Mahadev. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect and Cloud Architect here at Idera. What we would like to do is to start things off by covering what the agenda will be for today. One of the first areas that we're looking at is trying to better understand what is Git and how many of you have actually used it. And based on that, we will talk about our integration story of Git and Idera ER Studio Enterprise. Following that, we'll have a interactive demo where we'll be showcasing on what are the components needed for the setup. We'll walk you through a simple example of reverse engineering from a database, making a change at the logical model level, then pushing that to the physical level. We'll generate a base DDL from there, and following that, we'll go ahead and push that to Git and compare that with the version that we are having with the baseline, and we'll generate the alter script. Then we'll have some time for Q&A. So what is Git? Git is a pretty powerful open source version control system that's been there for almost 20 plus years, and it's still evolving. And Git has become an industry standard, enabling teams to work simultaneously and also having to have a complete history of project changes. Its speed and reliability make it an essential tool for software development. Now, what I would like to do during this webinar is to also go ahead and start requesting you to please answer a couple of poll questions that we have. So I'm going to launch that for you. We'll give it a moment and see how many responses we are getting for this. We'll just give it another 30 seconds and it should be good. All right, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now. And it looks like you folks have answered that at least 42% are very familiar with this, and somewhat familiar are 35%, and 23% are not familiar at all. Well, we hope to share some of the knowledge here, and let's continue with the presentation. So with ER Studio Enterprise, we've introduced this as a feature where we have Git support for GitHub, GitLab, Atlassian Bitbucket, Azure Repo, DevOps, and Assembler, which is our own Idera offering. So what entails as part of the ER Studio Enterprise Git support? It allows you to go ahead and first and foremost commit and push or create the DDL. It also helps you to create branches. Plus, it helps you to compare and merge against previous versions. I'm going to go ahead and launch our second poll here. We just have one last one before we get into the demo. So if you could please answer this, it would be very helpful. We'll give it another 20 seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now. I'll share the results here in just a second. Excellent. So we have a good amount of audience members who have used your studio, so which is great. And we will then go back to the presentation now. So what's the story of the Git integration and ER Studio Enterprise? The fundamental reason was we were researching with a lot of our customers, and they really just wanted to have their DDL scripts being pushed from their data model into Git directly. So that's what sparked a lot of these, the interest and also the implementation of this feature. Also, we wanted to also be ahead of the game and also integrate the CI/CD pipeline integration. So that will also help ensure better management of database design changes and foster efficient teamwork. I just have one last poll question for you, and then we'll head on to the demonstration. So we appreciate that. Go and launch our last poll. So what aspect of the Git integration with ER Studio do you think you'll potentially be utilizing? So here are some of the responses, and we will give it about 30 seconds, and we will move on to the demonstration. All right, I'm going to be going ahead and closing the polls now. And we'll share the results. And there you go. So we have about 35% of you all planning on versioning database models, which is exactly what we'll be demonstrating here today. And then we have a couple of folks who are looking at managing changes and conflicts. So we have all of that in place. All right, so now let's get back to the presentation, and we will begin our demonstration here in a few. So as part of the Enterprise Team Edition here in Data Architect, I'm just giving you a screenshot on what the Git options, where you can locate it. It'll be under the tools options and only available at the physical model level. Next, we have the Git integration part, which I will be showing you here as how we will specify what are the key aspects that you would need in order to set this up. This is how what we'll be covering today in the webinar, is where I will be going ahead and reverse engineering from a test database. We will be generating a baseline DDL for that. After the fact, we'll go into the development of the logical data model. And from there, we'll just go ahead and make a small change to a column. And from there, we will then generate we'll push those changes to the physical data model. Upon doing so, we will then generate a subsequent DDL. And followed by that, we'll be committing it into our Git repository. Finally, we will use a alter script that will be committed also to the Git repository. So that's the game plan. Are we having any questions so far in the Q&A panel?
We've been answering, Anil, as we go. And
perfect, thank you. Perfect, thank you, Tim. So now let's take a look at the demo. And first and foremost is here you can see this is ER Studio Data Architect. And here I already have a data model, but what I will be doing is I will be reverse engineering from an existing SQL Server database. And here you can see I have my SQL Server connection, and here I'll just choose Windows Auth. Next, what I'll do is I'll pick the database I'm interested in. So here I'll go ahead and have this here. And you can choose the objects and the schema of your choice. Here I have the list of tables and objects I would like to bring in. We'll leave everything else as the default. And now I'll just hit finish. Now, at this point, the reason we're doing this is we're trying to set up a baseline for ourselves and then go ahead and set up all the other integration mechanisms. So here, if I go ahead and say, I'll save the model file first. And what I'll do is I'll first go ahead and generate the DDL. And I will generate the script file to Git. Well, before I do that, let me just show you where you can find the Git option. So as I had shown in the presentation, this is only part of the ER Studio Enterprise. So you will need to be in the physical model. Here, if I look, I do not find any Git options. I only find it in the physical model. Next, what I'll do is I can go into the Git options, and here I can specify the GitHub repository, what I have, put my username, and set up a personal access token. And finally, I'll test it, and it'll give me an option to set up a location. So here in the location, I can specify a new folder. And for the first time, if I want to get this, I can show you here. So I'll give it as Get Webinar. And I'll create an empty folder. And here I'll go ahead and test it first. So it looks like everything is good. Then I will do a git pull. So that's what I meant by a clone and an update. So now it's got this into my location that I'm interested in. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and generate the baseline. So here I'll say generate database, and I'll generate the script to Git. At this stage, you can choose you can create a new branch. I'll just stick with the main branch. And here under the file, you will notice that I have it under the Git webinar physical.sql. So here I'll just call it as the baseline commit. So here, if I look at the SQL preview, it gives me an example of the DDL. And all I'll do is just hit finish at this point. And there we go. So now it's updated and written changes here. What I do have is I have GitHub open. So the first thing, I'm looking at the main branch here. If I look at the latest commits, if I go down here, see I have the baseline commit here. So if I open this up, so this is our baseline, okay? So what I'll do now is I'll make a change in my logical data model. So here, what I'll do is I'll go into the address table. And here I'll go into the, I'll go ahead and add a different column. So I'll just add this as COUNTRY, country. And I'll just hit OK. Next, what I'll do is I'll push the changes into the physical data model. So now that I've done that, I'll use the compare and merge. And here I'll compare it against the different data model here with my physical. All this is okay. And since I'm working only with the address, entity, and table, I'll just pick that. Here you can see in the attributes, it'll say that this does not exist in the physical data model. I'm going to go ahead and say move into merge into target. Now, if I come back to my physical data model, here you can see I've added country here. Okay, so far so good. Now, what I'll do is I'll generate a subsequent DDL from here. here, what I'll do is I'll just say compare second.
Hey, Anil,
Yeah,
one
what's
sec.
up?
Could you turn off your overview window? Somebody's saying that something's blocking, and the only thing I can think of it might be the overview window. I'm not seeing anything else blocking here.
Okay, is this
Thank you.
okay now? Oh, you bet.
Let us know if you're still seeing something blocking, because we aren't. Thank you.
All right, so here, if I go into this and generate the second one where I have modified this, I'll go ahead and generate the script file here. And here, I'll just give it a second. So now what I'll do is I can also look at the comparison that I have. So now if I go in here, I can actually look at my fiscal DDL that I've altered. So now if I go back and look at this, I now have country here. So if I need to look at anything in terms of the history or any of that, I can just look at the code from this one and see if there's any kind of a delta alter that's been generated. So here I've just gone ahead and generated that alter, and here is the alter column that it has generated from that. So in short, in just a few minutes, we were able to generate not only the changes, but also the delta alters from this as well. So that, in short, was the Git integration part of this. One of the key things you'll have to keep in mind is you'll have to enable your, first go into GitHub and get your developer options under the settings. You'll have to create an API access token, a personal access token, and from that you'll be able to specify all those options here in the Git options to make it to work. So those are some of the key things. Tim, did I miss anything here? Okay.
I don't think so, Anil. You could talk a little bit more maybe about the compare and that
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes. So the compare and merge, one of the key things prior to the Git integration, we just had compare against a SQL file or against a live database, but now we've offered this as part of the from Git directly. So that's there too. Now, let's say, for example, you've made a change here and you've wanted to compare it with your live database now, because in the live database, you don't have that column, right? So let's go ahead and compare that and see what we get. So here again, I'll just pick only the ADR one, which we have to compare. So here, if I look, I can actually see the columns here and say merge into target. And here you can see I can generate the alter script directly to Git. Okay, so I can connect to Git. Here I can just say delta alter. Hit finish. And there's your alter statement. And if I go back to GitHub, just go back and refresh here. It's going to refresh the page. Should have the latest alter, fiscal alter here. And there you go. So that's how easy it is to work with the compare merge now with Git and having the version control being established here. Again, as I had mentioned, you also have the ability to create new branches. I've just stuck with the main branch, but you do have the option to create a new branch here. So that's how it's helpful for folks who want to get started with your version control modeling with our Git integration.
Yeah, Anil?
Yes.
So if you go into, there's a question, can the Git repo structure be set up like this? And there's some, DB/schema/ what the SQL is. I think that's all in that structure. You could show that with the branches.
Yes. Yeah. So what you could do is you could just have that in the structure with the branches where you can actually, when you generate the database and you generate it to Git, you can actually establish a new branch like this.
But right there where he's showing create branch.
We are not providing any parameters to use to specify a specific folder, for example. We don't have some anchor hashtag schema, for example, to replace with the current schema name. This is not a feature available.
Okay. Any other questions that are in there that we could answer?
I think the branch question and setting up the branches was the only one I'm seeing right now that we have not answered. I've got a few minutes here, folks. If you have any other questions, please put them in, or if you'd like him to go back into something he covered maybe too quickly for you. Must the generated DDL for the database be all in one SQL file?
Right now, it's all in one SQL file. Yes. Unlike our regular generate database thing. Yeah.
That is an improvement that we have pending, but in our first cut at Git, that was not included. Any other questions from you guys? Not seeing any coming in. Oh, there's one. Okay. You're welcome, Michael. Absolutely. Like I say, if you're not on an edition that supports this, as Anil has said, it does take our enterprise team edition. So if you'd like to investigate that, maybe get a trial for it or a demonstration, please contact sales at Idera and talk to your account rep, and they can certainly set that up. And if you're not on a version of Enterprise Team Edition that supports it, you have to be up to 20.3 in order for the Git integration to be in there. And if you're currently in maintenance with a valid subscription, you can upgrade to that at no cost, and we certainly can get you the downloads for that, for those binaries. So.
And folks can also scan the QR code here that I've presented. So that'll take you straight to our request a trial or a demo. So feel free to do that. And we have a new home, erstudio.com. So if you're not familiar with that, well, all the resources, demos, our how-to knowledge articles, best practices, everything is now included on erstudio.com.
1 second, Neil. We got some last minute questions come in all at once. You might go back to your studio. Yeah. So one is, David, how does Git integrate with Azure DevOps?
Well, all they have to do is just go into Git options and specify the Azure DevOps Git URL. That's it.
Yeah, it uses the Azure repository, Git repository, and that would be the connection. Of course, Azure DevOps can look at that same Git repository, David. Michael, I don't have any timing or cadence kind of stuff to give you on when Git improvements might come in. That's something that stay tuned to erstudio.com, or if you have a specific question about a certain specific thing, you can contact tech support or your account rep. Can you edit the SQL script prior to saving to Git?
You can generate the script by, the only way you can do that is by saving that to a file. So when I generate here, and I have an option that says generate to Git, I do have an option here before I actually go ahead and commit. So before I even hit commit or hit finish, I have a SQL preview that I can actually save to a file and edit those. Yeah, so that's the only option, offline option that we have right now.
Amrish asked, and this is starting to get beyond maybe what I'm understanding. We use one changelog per command. How is that supported?
I'll have to check and get back to you. That's a question we can take offline. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll try to answer that for you per SQL command. I think that Amrish, actually, I'm understanding your question now. That would be the feature that it may be coming in the future, where we have different SQLs divided up into different DDLs. That isn't supported by the Git integration right now. You can do that if you generate the file, but in the future, that's kind of the same question I believe Michael was asking earlier. How do you roll back?
How do I roll back?
So if you post to a Git repository, how do I roll it back?
That's a good question.
The answer there is
from the web interface or whatever, but not from that architect.
Yeah. You could use your versioning from here, from the various options that you have, and based on the pull request, I believe you can actually go ahead and look at from the web interface, as William indicated. But from data architect, the only other way I think we could do it is to comparing this again with, if you want to remove a change, you'll have to use a compare and merge from that DDL. But that's the only way I can think of. What do you think, Tim?
This is not a rollback.
This
is not a rollback. This is a new commit. You can always override the previous commit, but this is not a rollback. Yeah, the rollback, you have to use the Git tools if you want to do it.
Yep, and I think I got a last question here. This is a little bit beyond the bounds here, but that's fine, Michael. We happen to have William on this particular call with us, who is our macro guru, but you're asking, can compare and merge be called via macro or script? It can be called. The compare and merge method is exposed in the automation interface. So if you want to show that real fast here, and they'll just go up to show the where the automation interface reference is.
Yes, I'll do.
No, under the little, yeah.
Yeah.
And in there, and you can search for compare and merge. In there, there is a method exposed there.
No, not with the keyword.
I would do index and then compare.
Oh,
no.
Oh, that's
right. On the index tab, compare.
No.
What's the object called? The method, is it merge? It might be merge. Try merge.
Merge model.
Merge model object there. There it is. We had to hunt around a little bit for you there, Michael, but that's how you get to it. And there's the merge model object and the methods right below it.
You need to run your compare and merge UI, your user interface, to save a quick launch setting, a file, a quick launch file. Quick launch. This is one.
Yeah, quick launch.
File, not a registry one. It's important. And then you will be able to use what you have configured in your compare and merge options. You will be able to use it from your macro with the method Anil just showed. Yes, you can go next and
Yeah.
Here, use file base. No, not this one. Not this one. Use file base is important. The checkbox.
A checkbox
Yes.
is file-based. Yeah, yeah.
Because you need a file. You
Yes.
can't do it with the registry.
Yeah.
And you will use this file with your command, your function from the COM automation interface.
Yeah. And each of the quick launches, we do have, like, for example, reverse engineering. We have other compare and merge and all other utilities. Wherever you see a quick launch and as part of the wizard, those can be done. So yes.
Yeah, to, maybe explain that a little more slowly for you, Michael, and the rest of you. Is when you're going to call a method via a macro, since there's no UI involved there, it's best to run it through once manually and save a quick launch file, and then you can call that that method, in this case, the merge method, reference that quick launch file and then get it through. And by the way, you can call ER Studio Data Architect from the command line, and the command line is a variable you can reference the macro and the quick launch. We have customers that put, you know, compare and merge and that kind of things to produce the merge report or the compare report in the Windows scheduler and throw that in. Hey, I need to compare our model, my physical model, against a particular database every night at midnight to make sure the DVAs or devs haven't added anything to it. So absolutely can do that level of automation. Yeah, and that, you're absolutely right, Michael. You can put all that right into your CI/CD pipeline. A little bit off topic for us on the Git, but it's all part of CI/CD. So I think looking here, we've got just about everything answered, Anil. So
Okay. Excellent. So what I would like to do is, yeah, just keep this on here so that if people want to know more about how to get in contact with us, erstudio.com there, and it'll take you straight to requesting a demo or a free trial, and you can reach out to us, as Tim said. So if you're an existing customer, you can reach out to your account rep. You need to know more about this, and you're in an addition that that needs support for Git, then please do reach out to us.